I think we should see other people. The words hung in the air of the elegant hotel ballroom where we'd gathered to celebrate our daughter Sophia's law school graduation. Marcus, my husband of 25 years, had leaned over during the dessert course to whisper what he clearly thought would be a devastating blow. Around us, relatives and friends chatted excitedly, oblivious to the bombshell that had just been dropped at our table. Sophia was across the room, radiant in her graduation gown, accepting congratulations from her professors. I carefully placed my dessert fork beside my half-eaten chocolate mousse and turned to look at my husband. "Is that so?" I replied, my voice steady. Marcus blinked, clearly thrown by my lack of reaction. He had expected tears, maybe a scene. Instead, I smiled and reached for my clutch purse. "My name is Eleanor Winters. I am 52 years old, and until this moment, I had played the role of supportive wife perfectly for over 2 decades. I had put my promising career in corporate law on hold to follow Marcus across the country for his surgical residency. I had raised our brilliant daughter while Marcus built his reputation as one of Boston's premier orthopedic surgeons. I had hosted countless dinner parties for his colleagues, redecorated our home to his specifications 3 times, and stood by his side through every career milestone. Now, as I opened my clutch and removed a small envelope, I wondered if he had ever truly seen me at all. Not just as his wife or Sophia's mother, but as Eleanor, the woman who had graduated at the top of her class at Harvard Law before we met. The woman who had once been known for her strategic mind and unwavering focus. "What's that?" Marcus asked, eyeing the envelope with confusion. "Something I've been saving for a special occasion," I replied, sliding it across the table to him. Though I admit, I didn't expect it would be this particular occasion. From the corner of my eye, I could see Rachel Chin, Marcus's much younger surgical assistant, watching our table nervously from across the room. The same Rachel who had been sending my husband text messages at all hours for the past 8 months. The same Rachel who had accidentally left her distinctive rose gold earring in our car after Marcus claimed he was working late last month. Marcus's fingers trembled slightly as he picked up the envelope. "Should I open this now?" "That's entirely up to you," I said, rising from my seat. "I'm going to congratulate our daughter on her outstanding achievement. This is her day, after all." I walked away without looking back, making my way through the crowded ballroom toward Sophia. My daughter's face lit up as she saw me approach. "Mom, Professor Harrington was just saying he remembered you from when you guest lectured at Harvard 3 years ago. Can you believe it?" I hugged her tightly, breathing in the scent of her perfume, the one I had given her as a graduation gift that morning. "I'm so incredibly proud of you, sweetheart. You've worked so hard for this." Over Sophia's shoulder, I could see Marcus opening the envelope, his face changing from confusion to shock to panic in rapid succession. He stood abruptly, nearly knocking over his chair, and began scanning the room for me with wild eyes. "Mom?" Sophia pulled back, studying my face. "What's wrong with Dad? He looks upset." "Your father and I are having a disagreement," I said carefully. "But today is about celebrating you. We can discuss family matters tomorrow." Before Sophia could respond, Marcus was striding toward us, the contents of the envelope clutched in his hand, his face flushed with anger. "Eleanor, what the hell is this? What have you done?" I turned to him calmly, keeping my voice low. "Not here, Marcus. Not at your daughter's graduation." "My daughter," he sputtered. "Now she's my daughter? You went behind my back and did Dad." Sophia interrupted, her eyes darting between us. "People are staring. Whatever this is, can it wait until we're not in the middle of my graduation reception?" Marcus seemed to suddenly remember where we were, his eyes scanning the curious faces now turned in our direction. He stuffed the papers back into the envelope and grabbed my elbow, his fingers digging in painfully. "We need to talk now," he hissed. I gently removed his hand from my arm. "I agree. But not here. I'll meet you at home in an hour." Without waiting for his response, I turned back to Sophia. "I'm sorry about this, sweetheart. Your father and I will sort it out. Please, enjoy your reception. This day is about you and your accomplishments." I kissed her cheek and walked away, my head held high as I felt dozens of eyes on my back. Outside, the May evening was warm, the air fragrant with blooming lilacs. I took a deep breath, feeling strangely light despite the confrontation I knew was coming. The envelope I had handed Marcus contained the first phase of what would become his undoing, evidence of financial accounts I had discovered 3 months earlier. Accounts that held money Marcus had been systematically diverting from our joint funds for nearly a year. I hadn't confronted him immediately. After 25 years of marriage, I knew Marcus too well. He would deny, then deflect, then somehow turn it around so that I was the unreasonable one. Instead, I began my own quiet investigation. What I discovered was worse than I had imagined. The money was funding an entirely separate life that Marcus was constructing piece by piece: an expensive apartment in Back Bay under a corporate name, extravagant gifts for Rachel, and plans for a conference in the Maldives that was actually a romantic getaway scheduled for the week after Sophia's graduation. I had always handled our family finances, a responsibility Marcus was happy to relinquish while he focused on his surgical career. This gave me access to information he had forgotten about, including the offshore account his father had set up for him before we married. The same offshore account that was subject to a specific clause in our prenuptial agreement, a clause that stated it would become jointly owned after 20 years of marriage. We had celebrated our 25th anniversary just 6 months ago. Marcus had never updated the trust documents. He likely didn't even remember the clause existed. I, however, had never forgotten. I had quietly bided my time, waiting for the right moment to take control of what was legally mine. When I discovered his affair with Rachel and his plans to leave me, I realized that the right moment had arrived. Working with a forensic accountant and my former law school roommate who now specialized in high-asset divorces, I had spent 3 months building an airtight case. The papers in the envelope were just the beginning, notification that the offshore account had been frozen pending legal review. The first step in what would become Marcus's financial reckoning. I drove home slowly, taking the scenic route through the winding roads of our exclusive Brookline neighborhood. The grand colonial houses with their perfectly manicured lawns had once impressed me. Now they seemed like elaborate stage sets, pretty facades hiding whatever dramas played out within their walls. Our house was the largest on the block, a sprawling 6-bedroom colonial that Marcus had insisted on buying when he made partner at Boston Orthopedic 10 years ago. "We need a home that reflects my position," he had said. I had argued for something smaller, more manageable, but eventually gave in, as I often did. Marcus's car was already in the driveway when I arrived. I parked beside it and sat for a moment, gathering myself for the confrontation ahead. Through the windshield, I could see lights blazing in our home office on the first floor. Marcus would be waiting there, no doubt having poured himself a generous glass of the 30-year-old Macallan he reserved for stressful occasions. I was right. When I entered the office, Marcus was standing by the window, tumbler in hand, the envelope and its contents spread across his mahogany desk. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded as soon as I closed the door behind me. "You've frozen my father's trust account? You can't do that." "Actually, I can," I replied, setting my purse down and taking a seat in one of the leather chairs facing the desk. You might want to review the prenuptial agreement, specifically Clause 23b. The Zurich account became jointly owned on our 20th anniversary. You signed the documents yourself. Marcus stared at me, his face flushing a deeper shade of red. That's impossible. That account was never part of our marital assets. My father set it up specifically to remain separate. Until we reached the 20-year mark, I corrected. Your father was old-fashioned. He believed that after 20 years, a marriage had proven its staying power. He wanted to ensure that if we remained together that long, I would be provided for equally. Marcus drained his glass and immediately poured another. This is absurd. I'll call Harrington first thing in the morning. This will be sorted out by noon. I allowed myself a small smile. I already spoke with Jeffrey Harrington 3 months ago. He confirmed the clause is valid and enforceable. That's why the freeze was approved so quickly. The glass froze halfway to Marcus's lips. 3 months ago? You've been planning this for 3 months? I've been aware of your affair with Rachel for 3 months, I clarified. And your secret apartment on Marlborough Street. And the plans for your trip to the Maldives next week. I've been planning my response accordingly. Marcus set his glass down with a thud, sloshing expensive whiskey onto the desk. You've been spying on me? Going through my private communications? I hardly needed to spy, I replied. You left your laptop open multiple times. Your passwords are still our anniversary and Sophia's birthday, both dates you've apparently forgotten the significance of. You've been careless, Marcus. Careless with our money, careless with your deception, and careless with the family you were planning to abandon. For a moment, he looked genuinely stunned. Then his expression hardened. This is nothing but vindictive retaliation. You're angry about Rachel, so you're trying to punish me financially. It won't work. I've built my career and reputation in this city. I have resources you can't begin to imagine. I imagine quite well, actually, I said, reaching into my purse to remove another envelope, this one thicker than the first. These are the complete financial records for the past 18 months. Every transfer you've made to the separate account at Boston Private. Every charge on the credit card you opened in your corporate practice's name but used for personal expenses with Rachel. Every cash withdrawal mysteriously not accounted for. I placed the envelope on the desk between us. I've documented it all, Marcus. And I've filed it with the court as part of my divorce petition. The color drained from his face. You filed for divorce? Already? This morning, I confirmed. The papers will be served to your office tomorrow. I thought it would be more discreet than having you served at our daughter's graduation event. Marcus collapsed into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 54 years. You had no right to do this without talking to me first. 25 years together, and you didn't even give me the courtesy of a conversation. I felt a flash of genuine anger break through my calm facade. Like the courtesy you extended to me before leasing an apartment with another woman? Or the conversation you clearly planned to have after Sophia's graduation, when you would announce you were leaving? Don't pretend this is about courtesy, Marcus. We both know it's about control you're suddenly realizing you've lost. His eyes narrowed. What exactly do you want, Eleanor? Money? The house? What will it take to resolve this quietly? I want what's legally mine, I said simply. Half of everything we've built together over 25 years. Half of your medical practice that I helped establish while you were completing your residency. Half of the investment portfolio I've managed that's outperformed the market 3 years running. And the full value of the art collection that was purchased with the inheritance from my parents. Marcus's jaw clenched. You've lost your mind. I built my practice through years of 80-hour weeks and surgical excellence. You've been a glorified homemaker for decades. I laughed then, a genuine laugh that seemed to startle him. A homemaker with a law degree who managed your practice's incorporation, negotiated the lease on your medical offices, and drafted the partnership agreement that made you senior partner 10 years ago. Did you forget that I wrote those contracts, Marcus? That I structured the buy-sell provisions that are now going to determine the practice's value for our divorce proceedings? The realization dawned slowly on his face. His surgical confidence was being replaced by the uncertainty of a man outmaneuvered. Your practice is worth $12.6 million according to the formula in the partnership agreement, I continued. Your partners will be obligated to calculate your buyout value using those terms if you choose to leave rather than have me as a co-owner. I'm entitled to half either way. Marcus's phone buzzed insistently on the desk. He glanced at it, then quickly turned it face down. Rachel, no doubt, wondering why he hadn't called her after delivering his big announcement. This is vengeance, pure and simple, he said, his voice hoarse. I made a mistake with Rachel. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, I corrected. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or saying something hurtful in the heat of an argument. What you've done is make thousands of individual choices over many months, choices to lie, to hide money, to plan an entire alternate life. Those aren't mistakes, Marcus. They're decisions. My phone chimed with a text message. It was from Sophia, *Mom, are you and Dad okay? Should I come home, *, I replied quickly, *, we're having an important discussion. Stay and enjoy your celebration. We'll talk tomorrow. I love you, *. When I looked up, Marcus was watching me. Sophia, he asked, his voice softer. I nodded. She's worried about us. For a brief moment, I saw a flicker of the man I had once loved, the caring father who had taught Sophia to ride a bike and helped her build science fair projects. Then his expression hardened again. She'll understand once I explain. I've been unhappy for years, Eleanor. Sophia is an adult now. She'll see that I deserve a chance at happiness. Perhaps, I agreed. But first, she'll see that her father chose to disrupt her graduation celebration with his personal drama. She'll learn that the money that was supposedly too tight for her to take that summer legal internship in Washington was actually funding your apartment with Rachel. And she'll discover that while she was working part-time through law school to minimize her student loans, you were buying $15,000 watches and booking luxury vacations with your girlfriend. Marcus flinched with each statement. You wouldn't tell her those things. It would only hurt her. I won't need to tell her anything, I said quietly. The financial records will become part of the public divorce filing unless we reach a reasonable settlement. I'm sure Sophia, with her fresh law degree, will be perfectly capable of reading court documents. Marcus stood suddenly, pacing the length of the office. This is blackmail. This is consequences, I corrected. You've made your choices, Marcus. Now you're facing the results of those choices. His phone buzzed again, more insistently this time. He ignored it. What about the house? He asked, gesturing to the grand space around us. I suppose you want this too? Actually, no, I replied, surprising him. I never wanted this house. It's too large, too ostentatious, and holds too many memories I'd rather leave behind. I've already found a downtown condo overlooking the public garden. Something more suited to my new life. Your new life, he repeated mockingly. And what exactly will that be? Playing the wronged wife? Living off alimony payments? I smiled then, a genuine smile that clearly unsettled him. I've accepted a position with Caldwell and Barnes, heading their new healthcare compliance division. They've been recruiting me for years, but I always declined out of consideration for your career and our family obligations. I start next month. The shock on Marcus's face was almost comical. You've taken a job? Without discussing it with me? Just as you planned a new life without discussing it with me, I replied evenly. We both appear to be moving on, Marcus. The difference is, I've done it legally and ethically. His phone rang this time, not just a text but a call. Rachel was getting impatient. With a muttered curse, Marcus finally snatched it up and answered. Not now, he snapped. I'm dealing with something. No, I can't talk. I don't know when I'll call you back. He ended the call abruptly and turned back to me, a desperate edge to his voice now. Eleanor, be reasonable. We can work this out between us without lawyers and courts. 25 years together has to count for something. It counted for everything, I said softly. Until you decided it didn't. I stood, gathering my purse. I'll be staying at the Four Seasons tonight. My attorney will contact yours tomorrow to begin settlement discussions. I suggest you find someone who specializes in family law rather than calling your corporate attorney. You'll need the expertise. As I moved toward the door, Marcus called after me, his voice cracking. The account in Zurich, there's over $4 million there. You can't just take control of it. I paused, my hand on the doorknob. I'm not taking control of it, Marcus. I'm freezing it until a fair division can be determined by the court. Unlike you, I'm not trying to hide assets or cheat you out of what's legally yours. I'm simply ensuring everything is properly accounted for. $4 million, he repeated, as if I hadn't understood the magnitude. What am I supposed to live on in the meantime? Your salary as chief of orthopedic surgery should be sufficient, I replied. It's certainly more than most people have. Though you might need to cancel the Maldives trip. I hear May is their rainy season anyway. I left him standing in the office, surrounded by the evidence of his deception and the wreckage of the life he had planned. As I closed the front door behind me, I heard the distant sound of breaking glass, Marcus taking his anger out on the whiskey tumbler, no doubt. The night air was still warm as I walked to my car, breathing deeply. The weight I had carried for 3 months, the knowledge of his betrayal, the careful planning of my response, began to lift. I wasn't naive enough to think this would be simple or clean. Marcus would fight, his ego demanded it. But I had truth, documentation, and the law on my side. I checked into the Four Seasons an hour later, requesting a room with a view of the public garden. As I settled into the luxurious space, so different from the traditional decor Marcus had always preferred, my phone rang. It was Claudia, my younger sister. Well, she asked without preamble. Did you do it? Did you give him the papers? I did, I confirmed, kicking off my shoes and sitting by the window. And? Don't keep me in suspense, Ellie. How did he take it? About as expected, I said, watching the lights of Boston twinkle before me. Shock, anger, then attempted manipulation. He broke at least one crystal tumbler after I left. Claudia snorted. Always the dramatic one. Remember when he threw that fit at Thanksgiving because Mom suggested his gravy had lumps? Despite everything, I smiled at the memory. He sulked for 2 days. So what happens now? Claudia asked, her voice growing serious. Now we negotiate, I replied. His attorney will contact mine. We'll begin the formal process of dividing everything. It will probably get ugly before it gets better. And Sophia? How did she take the news? I sighed. She knows something's wrong, but not the details yet. I'll tell her tomorrow. She should have at least one day to celebrate her achievement before dealing with our mess. You're a good mother, Ellie, Claudia said softly. And a stronger woman than I ever realized. I'm proud of you. After we hung up, I ordered room service and opened my laptop. There were emails waiting from my new employer, details about the office I would soon occupy, the team I would lead. A new chapter beginning while another one ended. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, *, this isn't over, Eleanor. I won't be robbed of what's mine, *, I didn't respond. There was nothing more to say tonight. The next morning, I met Sophia for brunch at her favorite cafe in Cambridge. She arrived looking tired, her graduation happiness dimmed by concern. Mom, what's going on? Dad isn't answering my calls, and when I tried the house this morning, he sounded terrible. I took her hand across the table. Your father and I are getting divorced, sweetheart. I'm sorry you found out the way you did. Sophia's eyes widened. Divorced? But why? What happened? As gently as possible, I explained about Rachel, about the financial deception, about the plans Marcus had made to leave after her graduation. I didn't share every detail. She didn't need to know about the Maldives trip or the exact gifts he had purchased, but I gave her enough truth to understand. So when Dad said he wanted to see other people at my graduation dinner, he was actually telling you he was leaving? With everyone there? Her voice rose with each question, anger replacing shock. He thought I wouldn't make a scene, I explained. And he was right about that part. But you were ready for him, Sophia said, a hint of admiration in her tone. You had already figured it all out. I nodded. I've known for 3 months. I wanted to wait until after your graduation to take action, but your father forced my hand with his announcement. Sophia was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then she looked up, her eyes, so like her father's, hard with determination. I want to help. I have a law degree now, remember? Let me review the documents, the prenup, everything. I shook my head. That's not your responsibility, sweetheart. I have excellent counsel, and you need to focus on your bar exam and starting your career. But, Sophia, I interrupted gently. The best thing you can do is continue your relationship with your father while maintaining appropriate boundaries. He's still your dad. What's between us doesn't have to change that. Her eyes filled with tears. How can you be so rational about this? He betrayed you. He was going to leave you after all these years. I considered my answer carefully. Because anger, while justified, won't help me build what comes next. And what comes next is what matters now. Later that day, as I was checking out of the hotel to move temporarily into Claudia's guest house, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, a female voice spoke hesitantly. Mrs. Winters? This is Rachel Chen. I almost ended the call immediately, but curiosity won out. Yes, Miss Chen? She faltered. I wanted to explain. About Marcus and me. There's nothing to explain, I replied coolly. My issue isn't with you, it's with my husband's choices. But that's just it, she said quickly. He told me you two were already separated. That you were staying together just until Sophia graduated. He said you had an understanding. Despite everything, I felt a flash of pity for her. And you believed him. He showed me papers, she continued, her voice small. Separation papers with your signature. I see now they must have been forged, but I swear I thought. I closed my eyes, processing this new deception. Thank you for telling me, Miss Chen. That information will be useful to my attorney. He's been calling me non-stop since last night, she added. Saying crazy things about frozen accounts and how I need to loan him money. I don't understand what's happening. Marcus is experiencing the consequences of his actions, I explained simply. I recommend you consider carefully whether you want to be caught in that particular storm. After we hung up, I forwarded Rachel's number to my attorney with a brief explanation of the call. The forged separation agreement was a new low, even for Marcus, and potentially criminal. Another piece in the puzzle of his deception. The next week passed in a blur of meetings with attorneys, financial advisors, and real estate agents. Marcus attempted to contact me multiple times, his messages evolving from threatening to pleading as the reality of his situation became clearer. You can't do this to me, one text read. I built this life, we built this life, I replied. And now we're dismantling it. Please direct all communication through our attorneys. 10 days after the graduation dinner, I received an unexpected call from Jeffrey Harrington, the attorney who had handled Marcus's father's estate and trust. Eleanor, he said warmly, I wanted to let you know that Marcus came to see me yesterday. I assumed he would, I replied. What did he want? To contest the trust terms, of course. To claim you had somehow manipulated the documents. Jeffrey chuckled. I showed him his father's original handwritten instructions. Old Harrison was quite clear, after 20 years of marriage, you were to have equal access and control. He believed in the sanctity of long-standing marriages. The irony isn't lost on me, I said dryly. There's something else you should know, Jeffrey continued. Harrison left a sealed letter with instructions that it should be given to Marcus if he ever attempted to circumvent these provisions. I gave it to him yesterday. I was intrigued. A letter? What did it say? I don't know the exact contents, Jeffrey admitted. But Marcus read it in my office. He looked, well, shattered is the word that comes to mind. He left without another word. That evening, as I was sorting through personal items Claudia had retrieved from our house, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, Marcus stood there, looking haggard and defeated. May I come in? He asked quietly. I hesitated, then stepped back to allow him entry. He walked into Claudia's guest house living room, taking in the boxes and suitcase. He said he was placing these constraints on the trust because he recognized himself in me. His wandering eye, his selfishness. He wrote that he regretted how he treated my mother every day until his death. I said nothing, waiting. He called me a fool, Marcus continued, his voice breaking. Said that if I was reading this letter, it meant I had thrown away the only thing of real value I would ever have, a woman who loved me enough to build a life with me. I felt an unexpected wave of gratitude toward my late father-in-law, a complicated man who had clearly seen his son more clearly than I had. What do you want, Marcus? I asked finally. He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. I've instructed my attorney to accept all your terms. The practice valuation, the asset division, everything. No contests, no delays. I was suspicious. Why? Because my father was right. I am a fool. And fighting you will only prove it further. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a folded paper. I've also signed this, a statement admitting to forging your signature on separation documents. Rachel gave me a copy of what I showed her. You can use it however you need to. I took the paper cautiously. Thank you for that, at least. Marcus moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, which I know isn't much now, I am sorry, Eleanor. Not just for getting caught, but for what I did. For who I became. After he left, I sat for a long time holding the signed confession, thinking about the man I had married and the stranger he had become. There was no satisfaction in his apology, no vindication in his defeat. There was only the quiet certainty that I was finally free to become who I was always meant to be. The divorce was finalized 4 months later, with remarkably little drama given how it had begun. Marcus accepted the terms, Rachel disappeared from his life when the money did, and I moved into my downtown condo with a view of the changing seasons in the public garden. Sophia struggled with the new family dynamic but eventually found a way to maintain relationships with both of us, though her respect for her father was irrevocably damaged. "He's trying to be better," she told me over dinner one night. "But some bells can't be unrung." As for me, I threw myself into my new role at Caldwell & Barnes. The work was challenging and fulfilling in ways I had almost forgotten I could feel. I was respected for my mind, my strategic thinking, my ethical clarity. I built a team, mentored young attorneys, and even began teaching a night class at Sophia's alma mater. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into Marcus at a hospital charity gala. He was alone, looking older but somehow more at peace. We exchanged polite greetings, asked about Sophia, who was thriving in her new position at a civil rights firm, and then stood in awkward silence. "You look well, Eleanor," he said finally. "Happy." "I am," I replied, realizing with some surprise that it was true. "I'm glad," he said, and I believed he meant it. "You deserve it." As he walked away, I felt the last weight of our failed marriage lift from my shoulders. The envelope I had handed him that graduation night had contained more than just financial documents. It had held the key to my freedom, my reinvention, and ultimately, my happiness. Sometimes endings are really beginnings in disguise. You just need the courage to open the envelope and find out.